You got into the safety business because you wanted to protect people, but somewhere along the way, the job started controlling your time, your schedule, your priorities, even your income potential. What if the expertise you've built over the years in the field can give you something more? More freedom, more control, more ownership of your future. I'm Sheldon Primus, the author of 7 Steps to Starting a Profitable Safety Consulting Business and the host of the Safety Consultant Podcast, with more than 350 episodes helping safety professionals become consultants and grow their career. Consulting changed my life. In fact, I'm a full-time RVer, and one consulting contract paid for my home I live in today. Now, I help safety professionals build their own consulting practice through bi-weekly coaching calls, accountability, and personal guidance. But this program isn't for everyone. Start with the Consultant Readiness Audit at sheldon.coach.
What if everything we thought we knew about safety was just interference? From the host of the Rated R Safety Show and the founder of Safety FM comes the complete Signal Transmission Trilogy, now available in one powerful edition. Safety, in my opinion, the book that started the conversation. Safety Mutation, where the boundaries of culture, systems, and belief begin to break. And now, Safety Transmission, the final piece of the signal. For the first time, all 3 books are together in one volume. The Signal Transmission Trilogy, Complete Edition. This isn't just about compliance. It's about consciousness. It's about decoding the way we think, lead, and live, inside and outside the system. Whether you've been following the signal since the beginning or you're just now tuning in, this is the version to own. Search Signal Trilogy on Amazon or visit safetyfm.com to get your copy now.
Sheldon Primus.
Welcome to the Safety Consultant Show with Sheldon Primus, where we blend safety smarts with business brilliance and a pinch of Sheldon's signature wit. Whether you're a safety pro, a fresh-faced consultant, or just safety curious, get ready for a show that'll educate, entertain, and elevate your safety game. Let's dive into the art of consulting with your safety Sherpa himself, Sheldon Primus.
This episode is powered by Safety FM.
All right, everybody. Well, welcome to another episode of the Safety Consultant Podcast. I'm your host, Sheldon Primus. It's the show where I teach you about safety consulting. I teach you guys about ocean compliance. Sometimes we talk about just safety and EH&S stuff all together. Talk about some sales stuff. We are all over the place. We're just all over the map today. Or on this show, but today we got someone special. I remember when I was on his show last year, he said it was a special treat to talk it to me. So I got you guys Joseph Blackman today from Vitendo and Training Systems, and he also has the Public Works podcast. And just truly, Joseph's been helping me out. When last time we talked a little bit about the public works, so he's kind of getting me back in my old space. You know, those are things that I used to do when I was a wastewater operator going into plant manager, and it kind of brought me back. So, Joseph, thank you so much. I appreciate you coming on the show, and welcome to the Safety Consultant podcast, my man.
Sheldon, thanks for having me on, man. It's been long overdue, and looking forward to having a conversation.
All right. Yeah, last time I was in Puerto Escondido, Mexico. I remember that one. And you're like, hold on, this is the furthest place I've had in my interview.
Yeah.
And this time I'm in Vegas, making our way up to your neck of the woods pretty soon.
Yeah,
Minnesota.
Come on out, baby.
All right. So tell everybody a little bit about your, your journey into your training organization, but then also what you're doing in the background with the public works. And for those of you that aren't familiar with public works, those are the people who do your utilities, such as your water, wastewater services, distribution, collection systems, stuff like that. So, Joseph, help us out.
Yeah. So, Sheldon, it's kind of a two-headed monster how I got started. So, I wanted to get into a career, and I was tired of doing the job route. And my mentor said, you need to sell something that's a high ticket with, in a field that people are around for a long time. Because he said you're more relational than you are transactional, meaning going deeper with people, becoming friends with people, developing actual relationships with people. And so when I started applying for jobs, I started looking at heavy equipment, even stuff like yachts and private jets and stuff like that. Just something that it's a higher ticket, and you probably should know somebody more than 20 seconds before you ask them for the sale. Yeah, and again, like in an industry, that's a career and not just a job. So when I came across, these trucks, these big, huge Vector trucks, these street sweepers, these things that these cities need to move forward or to keep business going, I kind of fell in love with it. So, I got hired on with the company, and I think a lot of people know this industry is a little bit old school. It's I would say it lags just a little bit behind. Yeah. I would say it lags a little bit behind standard like tech or the other industries in our cultures, but I liked that aspect about it. I liked how there were a lot of older gentlemen, older ladies in the industry, and there was a good amount of those people who wanted to give back. They wanted to teach others about what was going on, how things worked. I liked working with my hands. I liked being outside. I liked working with utilities and cities because the guys I was working with, they were the same guys I played football with, with the same kind of banter, the same kind of energy, same kind of attitude, like, just guys. And I liked that energy. It felt like, being back in the sport of football. And so one thing I started to notice that, again, the people that I liked, the people that knew everything, they're retiring. They were staring at retirement in the next, 6 months, 2 years, 5 years. And you could literally go to a city yard, you'll see 6 guys standing around a piece of equipment. At least 2 of those guys are staring at retirement. 2 of the other guys maybe been there for a couple years, but they're itching to get down the road and make a couple bucks extra. And then there's like 1 or 2 guys who are like just fresh into this and it ain't gonna last,
Yes, you can see it on their face. You're like,
yeah. And that was kind of the makeup. And one thing I that institutionalized knowledge, the guys who knew everything, they were going to retire in the next 2 to 5 years. And that's kind of where the impetus of Vitendo came from, was that I would train these guys up on this huge piece of equipment. It's $500,000 piece of equipment. 2 months later, they're calling me back saying, hey, how does this work? How does that work? And I'm thinking, I trained you guys on this. And so there was a lapse in retention of that knowledge, because whether somebody retires, somebody leaves, somebody wasn't there for the training. So I started shooting myself on video with those trainings. So I would shoot myself and say, here's how you operate this, here's how you operate that. The supervisors loved it because they could use those same videos that I text to them and text it to their operators and say, hey, watch these, and this will help you get up to speed on the questions you had around that piece of equipment. And so I started a whole service around that. That's Vitendo Training Solutions. If you've ever been on YouTube to watch a video on how to fix or operate something you own, that's what I do for cities, agencies, utilities, all the like. And then also the podcast. And so again, two-headed monster. There were so many people in the industry that I knew had knowledge. I knew had their story to tell. I knew they just had game to be able to give back to the industry. But let's be honest, how often are these guys, like how often were you interviewed about something positive? It was always something that went wrong. Like, hey, the news is rolling down there with their vans and their cameras because something went wrong. It was never about Sheldon. They always say, what's Sheldon doing versus how is Sheldon? Yeah. And so I kind of came with the approach of
smell. That's all the calls I used to get. What's that smell? I'm like, come on, man. Yeah. You built this $1 million house around a wastewater plant. What do you expect?
Yeah. Like, what do you expect? So that was my thing. I wanted to highlight the person behind the position. I wanted to help people tell their side of the story in public works. And so yeah, 360 something episodes later, I'm still doing the public works podcast. I still use it to highlight the person behind the position, and I still use it to be able to interview the guy who is that unsung hero in our community. So yeah, that's Vitendo, and that's Public Works Podcast.
Tell us the history of the name. Yeah, I'm just finding this out myself. So tell us a little bit about the history of the name, or at least the meaning of the name. How's that?
Sure. So I was at a point in life, one of those pivotal points. I had time and I had a little bit of money, which sometimes is a recipe for disaster for some people.
Yeah, no kidding.
And so I was at a point where I had time and I had some money. I didn't know what I was going to do next. I sold a rental property because I had some issues with the previous business, and I just had to get some of the liabilities off my back. And so any of you business owners out there know that, like, when the IRS is calling, when things aren't going great, there's a couple things you wish would happen, and so one of those things happened, and I was able to sell my property and get the liability off my back. And so I was flushed with cash, and I had some, and I was either going to do the Pacific Crest Trail, which is the hike from Mexico to Canada through California.
That's awesome.
Because I love backpacking. I love being in the mountains. I've hiked legs of the Pacific Crest Trail, but I wanted to hike the whole thing. But that was going to take 5 months. And I'm like, yeah, I have the time, right? I'm not working. I don't have a business. So I have the time and I have the money. Because again, like, I sold the rental property and I had some money. And so I was like, 5 months is a little bit too long. So I looked for some other things I could do. And so the other one was climb Mount Kilimanjaro. And so Mount Kilimanjaro, that takes 5 days, or 7 days, or however long you want it to take. But for me, it took 5 days.
Pole. Here's your guide.
Yeah,
Slow.
pole. There you go. slow. So yes, so I of course I went to Africa. I climbed Mount Kilimanjaro, and during the time you're climbing it, they're teaching you Swahili. So yes, pole was like slow, because a lot of people, they just want to go fast. But they're saying, hey, reserve that energy, pole. And of course, they're teaching you other Swahili words. And I kind of fell in love with the language. So during my times, I'm looking up other words. I'm asking them how to say this, how to say that. And so that language, that the verbiage, the language, the dialect kind of stuck with me. And so when I decided on starting my company, I said, well, what's a Swahili word for like teaching or repeated learning? And that's Vitendo.
That's awesome. I've been actually trying to find that myself. Just different terms and different tribal symbols, because I've got a tattoo on my right calf, and I want to match it with my left. So I'm thinking of doing a African tribal something, and I've been looking that up. So I've been looking at different words and looking at the symbol for unity, the symbol for love, the symbol. So I'm like, come on, I'm just throwing it all around. So I like what you're saying there, and that you did Kilimanjaro. So that in itself, I don't want to just sugarcoat or let you just go with that, because I love truly any kind of outdoor activity. Like you, my wife and I, we just go like regular, trail hiking. We don't go nut ham like you did. But there's so much that's to be said with how you conquer yourself, you conquer your surroundings, but you're also dealing with you during those treks. So what did you end up going through, and if you could share, because I'm sure some of that's personal, because I've heard stories of people that they break down, they're crying as they're walking because of all that stuff.
I mean, like, again, in those moments, those pivotal moments in life where you're trying to figure out, like, if you're actually good enough, that imposter syndrome of, like, you had a business failure, a lot of people, they're like, oh, wow, I thought your business was doing good. Why are you closing it up? Like, that kind of, those things in the back of your head make a man question whether he's good enough or not. And that's where, like, myself is, if you're like Winston Churchill says, if you're going through hell, keep going. Meaning, like, if you're going through something, just keep going, because there will come a point where you can prove yourself again and again to say, like, no, I am actually competent enough. I am good enough. And so that's why I didn't want to just, sit on the couch, or like, again, I had to move back with my parents. I didn't want to sit on my parents' couch and just sulk and wallow. So I knew I had to get back out there and prove to myself that I was still competent, that I still could do the do. Um, and again, Kilimanjaro, like, you're supposed to climb it in 7 days because of acclimatization. You go up, you come down a little bit, you go up, you go come down a little bit, just to help the body acclimatize. I said, no, I want to do it in 5 days. We don't need to acclimatize. We just 5 days. You hit the summit. There was you're not supposed to do it in April. April is the worst month to do it, and that was like, my birthday is at the end of April, so I wanted to do it before my birthday. So I had to have snowboard gear and all that to climb it in April because there's snow everywhere. Like most pictures you see of Kilimanjaro, it's dirt at the top of the mountain. For me, it's like 7-8 feet of snow.
Wow.
But yeah, those moments of like, you're too tired, it's, your food is coming out of both ends because your body's just rejecting everything. You're dehydrated, and even the Sherpas, because you have to hire Sherpas to go to the top. Even they're saying like, hey man, you don't look too good. Maybe we should just call it here. Cause like there's different like false summits to where you can like take your picture. They got the sign behind you. You still did your 18,000 feet. And they say, hey, let's just take a picture here. We can go back down. Like, you can still say you climb Mount Kilimanjaro. I'm like, no, I gotta get to the 19,000 summit. I gotta get to the actual, the top of the mountain. And I'm like, okay, this crazy American. And so step by step, man, it was one of the most intense, I would say, climbs in my life. I mean, I've done, not other mountains, but I've done other elevations, and I've done other feats, but that was one of those moments where it's like, I didn't want to fail at it because, again, you feel like a failure already. So you just have to get a win under your belt. And that was Kilimanjaro for me. And when I climbed it and came down, it wasn't like, the God opened the heavens and said, you are good to go. Yeah. It was more so of like me to myself. Like, yeah, like some people they go to the jungle, do ayahuasca. Some, women after a divorce, they go to the gym and get fit. Some men have to buy that Corvette to feel like they're good at something. Mm-hmm. Me, that was my experience. I was 26, 27 years old, and that's what I wanted to do. So yeah, for me, it's transformative. Wow. I'd employ everybody else to do it too.
Yeah. Of course, I love challenges, and knowing about something like that makes me feel like I could do it too, Yeah. I'm not going to do 5 days.
No,
or April.
Time, man. Yeah.
I'm going to wait till it's nice and sunny.
There
I didn't know about the fall summits, though. That's actually new to me.
Yeah, there's like 3 fall summits where you can like take your picture and say, I climbed Mount Kilimanjaro, but I knew the one that I wanted to get to.
That's just faking the funk.
Yeah.
You gotta go. Yeah. Wow. So when you come down, you get a new appreciation of things. You're able to see a little bit clearer. So that's part of the goal right there. How quickly after that did you start rebounding?
It was pretty soon. That was when, so I was already in talks with that company, and the company that I was selling the Vectors through before I went. And that was kind of so there again, like I had time, I had money. I was in talks. We were going back and forth through email while I was in Africa, which is kind of, it was kind of reassuring because I knew I could have something when I got back. But again, like my trip, I went from Dubai to Cape Town, South Africa. I went to Tanzania to climb Mount Kilimanjaro. I was going to spend my birthday in Morocco. And then after that, I was going to go to Eastern Europe. And I was going to stay a month floating around Eastern Europe, like, through the Baltics, through Turkey. Mm-hmm. I was going to do the Jesus Walk in Israel. So I was going to stay on the road for at least a month or two. But when the company said, hey, we're looking to get started, and, a start date could be July 1 for you, that was kind of one of the anchors that brought me back. Like, if that company didn't have that offer on the table, I probably would have still been on the road. I probably wouldn't have a wife with 3 beautiful children. I probably wouldn't be talking to you right now because I'd still be on the road doing my travels. That was one of my goals when I had my business at the time. I was a world traveler. I could literally make money from my laptop, and it was fun. Like been to 22 different countries. So world traveling kind of was my thing. And I had fun doing it. But again, like if I didn't have that offer on the table, that, that anchor pulling me back to the industry, then I probably wouldn't be here today. Let's be honest. I wouldn't be right here today.
Wow, now that's so unique, especially back then. I guess world traveling wasn't, especially for business, or probably just now picking up where a lot of people were doing that. So you're almost your first leg of pioneers in your generation to do that.
Yeah, a lot of people that I know, either they travel after their careers, like you see the big tour buses hit the city, a whole bunch of older people, like they they got the Nike Nike shoes on with the socks and the hat.
Yeah.
And like I always to keep it clean on the podcast, I say you want to travel while your body still works. If you kind of get what I'm get what I'm saying.
Yes.
And a lot of people wait till they travel to see beautiful sights, to meet beautiful people when they're past that prime. And I get it. You got to put your work in and put your time in. But I was under the assumption, or I was under the thought process, I want to travel while I can get around, while I can do things, while I can have those, let's say, fun nights and stuff like that. So that was my attitude of like, I want to travel now and I'll get to life later, which, we could talk 2 hours on that thought process.
Yeah.
I do feel that my generation, being a millennial, has a little bit of that energy of like, I can put off work, have fun now, and then get to work later. I feel like the baby boomer generation, you got to work. And then when you retire at 62 or 67 years old, and then you can reap the benefits. But I've seen way too many people, whether it's from the church or in my personal life, they work their whole lives, they retire, boom, health problems hit, they can't do anything, or else they pass away, because when they retire, they don't retire to anything. And they just sit around and the body says, well, we're not needed anymore.
Yeah.
So boom, they're out of here.
Wow. Well, great philosophy there. I believe it myself. That's why I when I transitioned to going on the road, that was 2017. So back then, not a lot of people were doing traveling and on the road. In my generation, I'm a Gen Xer. So we're that generation, especially when you work for cities and counties. They basically say you stay here in this job until you retire, and then you go out, just as you just mentioned. And truly, that's because my generation of trainers were actually the people who were silent generation. Yes, they were kind of leaving, but it was mostly the baby boomers, and that's their mentality, right?
Yep.
So, tell me how you mentioned the imposter syndrome. How do you get past that one? What did you do?
I say every time I get on stage, confidence comes from competence. So we all have that imposter syndrome, whether you're getting in front of 2 people to deliver a presentation for a pitch, whether you're in front of 200 people just to get the crowd riled up for their conference. You're always thinking, why am I here? I'm not good enough to be here. Why am I up here? Why are they using me for this? With my history, that I'm not qualified to be up here. And that's that imposter syndrome. That's that voice in the back of your head. And I say to those who have that it's 2 things. I learned this in Toastmasters. So Toastmasters, if you're having issues with public speaking, join Toastmasters. It's super cheap. It's super quick to do. Like, you can do it. It's everywhere in the country. You can find a Toastmasters club. And one thing Toastmasters taught me was that most people are concerned about their self than they're concerned about the person getting the knowledge from them. So when you think about yourself, like whether it's women, I want my hair, my look, or me, like my voice, or like what my content of what I'm saying, that means I'm selfish. Nobody wants to be selfish.
Yeah.
You're selfless when you go, you know what, all of Sheldon's listeners, they need to hear something of what I'm saying. They're listening to the show for a reason. I need to be the guy that out of this, let's say 45 minutes worth of me talking, they can pick up 1 or 2 things that can improve their life and put myself on the back burner. There's so many people that we're thinking about ourselves. We won't create content. We won't get on stage. We won't speak up because we're worried about how we sound or what we're going to say, when really there's somebody out there in that audience is like, I need what you have. I need to hear what you have. I want to hear what you have. So think about them and quit thinking about yourself. So that's one of the things that gets you through that imposter syndrome, is stop thinking about yourself. Stop being selfish. You're here for a reason. You've lived your experiences for, let's say, 15, 20, 30, 40, 50 years, and somebody can learn from what you have to say. And then the other part is, like I said, just doing the do. The reason why you don't feel like you're good at something is because you haven't done it enough. Let's be honest. Like, if you ask me to do, to pull a pump, I'm nervous if 20 guys are watching me who pull pumps every day, because I don't know how to do it. But if I did it for 6 days leading up to it and I got reps at doing that, now I can go, you know what? I know how to do this and I can be confident in it. So if you're having issues, if you're struggling with the imposter syndrome, just do more of it. Public speaking is terrifying for people because we don't do it enough. I always say never turn down an opportunity for public speaking, whether it's at the end of your day and your crew has to give a report on what you guys did for the day. Just say, hey, guys, I'll do the reports every day. Just give me your notes and I'll give the reports. Then you'd be surprised how those small reps over time will turn you into a rock star in regards to public speaking. Because as soon as you get confident, the room could tell, and now it sounds like you're confident. And then once you get that confidence switch going, the sky's the limit for you.
Yeah. And I know we used a training analogy there, but then there's also the people who are starting their own business and they got to get in front of a new client and they have to prove that they're better than a competitor in some way. And especially if you want to go sole source. And that confidence now is, who am I to tell them, whatever. So getting past that, that's a good way that you put it. Not only do you have to get over yourself, but then also it's not about you. It's about the people. It's about your service is going to help somebody. That's why you're offering the service. Yeah.
Starting this business, I come up against plenty of circumstances where I'm in a room, I'm talking to people who know this industry in and out backwards way more than me. And it's tough to pitch to somebody like that. But what you do is you just focus on what you focus on. You focus on your competence and you focus on your skill sets, and don't be so outcome focused. Like if you're focused on the outcome of getting that deal, you're going to be crushed 12 times out of 10, because that's how sales goes. You're not going to get every deal. You're just not. But when you get the rep of doing a pitch, when you get the rep of making a cold call, when you get the rep of getting out there and talking about what you do, that's how you get better. Over time, you will start to get better the more you pitch your product or service. And I said, everybody who's hesitant about talking about what they do, like think of McDonald's, think of Coca-Cola, think of the local mattress store. You hear their commercial on the radio every other break. You get what I'm saying? You see Coca-Cola everywhere. Everybody talks about what they do. Everybody does. Don't be afraid to talk about what you do, because that person knows you have to feed your family. That person knows you're not a charity. So it's okay to say, hey, this is what I do, full time. This is what I do to make money. Here's a product or service that I sell, to be able to keep the lights on for me and my family. So and again, like I've had plenty of that imposter syndrome. Like I don't want to be the guy that pitches too much and hard selling. Yeah, you don't have to hard sell, meaning like you don't have to twist arms to get business. But if you talk about what you do, you'd be surprised how many people go, oh, I like Sheldon. I like what he does. Let's get him in here.
Yeah. And I also say with that is truly the cycle everyone knows or hears is know you, like you, trust you, and then you get the sale, right? So all those people on LinkedIn that are, as soon as you hit, connect, all of a sudden you've got the whole form letter and they're spamming you like nuts. And I'm like, ugh. I don't know you yet. It's a possibility I can like you and trust you, but you're already giving me the goods on LinkedIn. It's like, well, give me a chance.
I know. It's hard to explain. It's kind of like when you're out at a bar, you're single, of course, and you're talking to women. Like you don't ask them from the jump, like, hey, let's get out of here. Say, what's your name? How are you doing? You having a good time tonight? You have a conversation. It's the same thing in business. Like you don't want to ask somebody for the sale right away. Because let's say they say no right away. Where does the conversation go after that?
Yeah.
You had a chance to make a potential friend, a referral source, somebody that you can create content with, like we're doing. Like if I would have hard pitched you from the day one, you'd be like, like you seem cool, but like you just came off on the wrong foot. But now look at this. I did a show for you. You did a show for me. Like, I'll see you in person. Probably we'll grab lunch. We'll do some content in person, take some pictures. Yeah. Like just because we did it right. And right is just how life should be. Like, relax, chill out. Don't come from that scarcity mindset, and just be interested to be interesting.
And I like the diagnosis there, the scarcity mindset. That's the driver. It's the fear that I don't have enough people in my funnel for me to get that one, the 1% or 2% that we're always going for. So you have to reach out and get that 10,000 handshakes before you can get that 10 or maybe even 100. If you're doing 10,000 handshakes, you get that 100 referrals, and then from there you get your 10 actual clients.
No, it's
a grind. It's no hamster wheel.
No, I learned that when you're sad about losing a deal, or when you're bummed out or even angry about losing a deal, that's because you didn't have that many deals in your pipeline. Like if you had if I said, Sheldon, like there's 100 clients that want to do business with you. You got 100 leads and you lose one, you'd be like, well, I got 99 I could potentially close next month. But let's say you only had 5, right? You had 5 clients, you lose one, shoot. Now you're down to 4. Now you're thinking, okay, is this enough for my monthly revenue? Can I make my monthly nut? Like, can I make these payments? So that, again, like that scarcity is because, A, you haven't been prospected. Like you said, that 10,000 hands. Like my thing is, everybody I connect with on LinkedIn, I send them a message. There's only 2 messages I send out. Hey, I want to get you on the podcast if you're on the public side, or this other side is if you're on the private side, hey, let's hop on a synergy call just to talk about what you do. I'll talk about what I do, and we'll see if there's some overlap. A lot of people don't reply. Like, let's say, like LinkedIn allows you to connect with, and this is kind of tactical. If you, pull me out of the weeds if I'm going too deep.
No, I actually do that with my group too. Just so you're speaking my audience language right here, the tactical side.
Okay. So LinkedIn allows you to connect with or to request 100 people a week, 100. You should be hitting that limit every week. I got to 19,000 or 20,000 followers because I do that. I hit that 100 every week, whether it's Friday afternoon and I'm taking the kids to the basketball game. I'm at the, I'm sitting in the stands and I'm literally just going through connecting with my ICP, connecting with the people in my industry who I could sell to, who I could become a referral partner with. And so when I request 100 people, let's say I get 60 connections out of the 100. That's good numbers. Out of the 60, it's probably going to be, let's say 40 that actually are in public works who work for an actual agency. Out of that 60, I send them a message. I send them a message of like, hey, I want to get you on the podcast. Because again, everybody has their own story to tell. And I'm willing to help everybody tell their own story. I don't care how many episodes I do. I just want to tell people's story. And a lot of people say, well, why are you doing so many shows? And this is, my thought process. Like, have you heard of the story of the grandpa and the grandson on the beach? They're going for a walk. They look up and there's 500,000 starfishes on the beach. They're about, they washed them with the tide, and the tide went out, and now they're uncovered on the beach. And there's like hundreds of thousands of starfish on the beach. And so the kid's like, man, there's just so many. How can we save them all? And so what the grandpa does, he picks up one, he throws it in the ocean. He says that meant the world to him. He picks up another, throws it in the ocean. That meant the world to him. And so every interview that I do, even though, like, again, it might be an operator for some city that a lot of people don't know of or respect or whatever, but for that person, when he can take my interview that I did for him, post it on his personal Facebook, and his brother-in-law, father-in-law, his ex from high school, when they can hear what he's doing for their community, he feels it means the world to him. Yeah. And that's why I'm willing to help everybody tell their podcast. So anyways, so I try to get as many people on the podcast as possible. And then also whoever's not in the ICP, I try to have a synergy call. And again, a synergy call is just a phone call. It can be 10 to 15 minutes You ask them what they do, you tell them what you do, and you see if there's some overlap. Maybe you put them in your Rolodex for a referral source. If you're out there doing something, you might know, hey, I got a guy for that. They will do the same for you. And that's where you get those numbers of like, okay, once I started doing that about 9 months ago, like my lead flow shot up because now I'm talking to more people. I wasn't waiting for a conference. I wasn't waiting for an inbound lead. Like, come on, like how many people are out there searching for exactly what I do? You know, custom video training. Like people are thinking about it, of course, because I like, you know, but you have to go and reach them and say, hey, I'm the guy that solves for that. And they go, oh, we've been thinking about that. They're not proactive in saying, hey, we need custom video training on Google, and then my company pops up. And so that's why I say for the listeners out there, just get in a regimen of connecting with people. Just try to have as many conversations a week as possible. If you can get to 20 a week just on the phone, you're crushing it. And you'd be surprised if you look up in 2 months how much more deal flow you'll have if you just talk to people and genuinely be interested. Don't talk to them to pitch your business. Talk to them to say, hey, where am I going to see you at? What conferences are you hitting? What associations are you part of? And how are you using associations to further your, you know, your stance in your business? You know, what are your, you know, your business development? You know, what's your tempo and pace like? You making cold calls? You sending out pamphlets? Like, and you're literally talking about them about business. You'll learn some things. You'll learn about what they do. They'll learn about what you do. And then like now when I go to these conferences and trade shows, it's kind of like cheers. Like, oh, hey, Joseph, but you're the guy on LinkedIn or you're the guy I talk to. And it's like, yeah, like that's intentional. So again, for the listeners, just get into a zone of just reaching out to people genuinely interested to talk to them.
Yeah, and honestly, you go to where people who will be likely to use your service. So for instance, if you're on LinkedIn, you can actually look for groups that have whatever you're interested in, and you could go through that. That's actually what I did, and try to, you know, it's like telling somebody if you go to a conference that I'm gonna put you as a speaker and you get to speak to 10,000 people, and you're like, oh, that's great. And every 10,000 people is going to have your card. And you're like, all right, that's great. But then you say, the same person could tell you, well, I'll put you in a group with 100 people, but these are 100 people that are pre-qualified. They're ready for your service. And you're like, ooh, do I choose the 10,000 or do I choose the 100? I'm choosing 100.
Yeah.
You know? I'm choosing the people that's they want what I have, and I know that by, you know, they're selecting a group that they you know, truly is a service that I can provide.
Yeah. I mean, no, you're speaking the language. Like there's going to come a point in time where that spray and pray isn't going to work. But let's be honest, most of us are in a position now where spray and pray will get you some low-hanging fruit. It will get people on the top of the funnel, and then you can start to do it. Like I'd rather have the abundance of too many conversations than to be stuck in a room with 4 people. And I'm like, okay, all you guys want what I have, but let's say they're not ready to purchase, or let's say they're not ready to do business with me. Like, again, I still want to have those conversations, but no, I echo what you're saying. Those more of the sniper approach will get there, but for some people, the shotgun approach is the way.
Yeah, you're gonna have a little. It depends on where you are in your career too, because at some point, you're not going to get targeted yet because you're still new and you don't know what you want yet. So that's a learning curve for yourself. And when you do start the conversation, then the next step is the quote and getting the quote right. Yeah. And I mentioned to you earlier off our camera here, but about helping you with the quote. And what you do first, explain everybody what you do with your targeted training. And I know you said it started with truly taking videos and showing the guys, hey, this is how you operate this and this is how you work it, and then eventually develop even more. So tell us about that part, and then maybe we could brainstorm together and help you with this quote.
Sure. So the concept of what I do, if a utility is getting something new delivered, whether it's a pump, whether it's a lift station being built, whether it's a occupational truck, there's usually going to be a salesman that's going to come out and train everybody on that. And so what I'm working on is there's a town they're saying, hey, we want all that training from the salesman captured, because they want this plant to last 50 plus years, and they want to know from the horse's mouth how to maintain and operate everything from the horse's mouth, like properly, like, from the manufacturer rep. And so they want to record it. And that's where they say, hey, this Joseph guy does that. Let's get him on board. So this is probably one of the bigger scopes of work that I've done. Most of my contracts are with an agency, utility. They say, hey, we're having problems with this. We need to solve for that. We have all this equipment. It's not uniform. We have turnover. We just want all of our best practices on video so everybody knows how to operate, our equipment the best way moving forward. And so again, this plant build is a different scope of work for me. And I'm scratching my head thinking, okay, this could either be a $5,000 gig or this could be a $500,000 gig. And there's other companies in here making $5 million. And, not being greedy, but I do know the value of what I do. I do know that, like, okay, let's say 10 years from now, if somebody watches one of the videos that I create, to be able to pull a pump or repair something the proper way, that saved that plant, X amount of thousands of dollars in regards to that pump going down and then having to do a shut, whatever. Like, it saved them a lot of money. So I do know the value in what I create. Imagine having every utility having an on-call trainer for all the operations and maintenance that never takes a day off, never sleeps, always answers the phone, and is always willing to walk you through exactly how to operate or repair something. That's invaluable. If for a $500 million plant, like, that person should be paid millions and millions and millions of dollars because they're always there and they're always ready to help out. And that's Vitendo. And so I'm still trying to figure out what, where I should be at price wise. And I haven't done the hourly rate yet, meaning most of my contracts I bill out by the day or by the week, which a lot of people can wrap their head around. They know it's this much for the week. Boom, let's do it. They just cut a PO and we're good to go. Yeah. But for this one, like, let's say I have to show up on location 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 times, 100 times over the next, 2 or 3 years. Like, are they willing to pay my daily rate 100 times over? It's a lot of money. Yeah. Should I bill it out hourly to where, because again, I shoot on the ground. I have to edit it. I have to arrange it in the software. I have to, do re-edits if they say, hey, we like this part, but can you edit out the part where he said, 22 PSI because it's supposed to be, 48 PSI, whatever. And so there's a lot of time involved from what people don't see me on the ground to get this thing done. So yeah, if you want to toss some stuff back and forth and kind of enlighten us about where your brain goes in regards to how to price something out like this.
Yeah, the philosophy then, I'll just do the philosophy side as far as instead of strict numbers, if you would, but I never use hours that the client could see. I use it for my own mindset, so I know that the hours are going to be equivalent of how many hours I'm going to work, and then I'll do like an hourly rate to that. So for instance, if you know that you're going to end up doing some editing time, you could have editing hours as if you were paying someone for editing, and then you could do administrative time and have separate hours for that. I'm not going to put that in the quote, but that's going to be the structure I'm going to use. So if I could figure out there's going to be roughly about 30 hours of editing time, then I'll get my editing rate there, and there might be another 30 hours of administration time that's going to take for me to set my the schedule, going to get you there in whatever time frame. Usually it's going to be the time that it takes to get your travel and all the arrangements and stuff like that, the report time. That's the other set of hours I would think of, is just basic. How many hours do I think this is going to work? The only way you would know this would be scope-wise. So if they're telling you we're going to need roughly 100 videos, now you got a scope. Or if you're going to say, we need training on, for me, I do EHS training, so environmental health and safety. So let's say they say, I need a OSHA 10, and that's usually around 7 or 8 topics, So if I'm doing about 7 or 8 topics, then at that point, I'm going to know that there's going to be some actual teaching time but then there's prep time. So teaching time is going to be a separate hourly rate versus prep time. So that's the structure for what I would use there. But then beyond that, the part that I always say that is the part that will represent what you should make is what's the benefit to the client. So for instance, if you could get any dollar figures worth of downtime, and you could actually ask the utility, ask the client, hey, if this thing goes down, how often do you guys, or not even often, walk me through the process of how to get this thing back? Do you have a rebuild kit for it? Do you guys have to get this to come back from the manufacturer? What's that lead time like? Do you have redundancy for this pump system or this blower system? So if you're down one, how long can it be? So what you're going to end up doing is you're going to find out how much is this thing worth to that client. And you're going to base your pricing off of how much it's worth to them. So you know how much you could do it for. That's the one set of dollars, but now you need to figure out how much is this going to cost this one client if they don't actually have the use of this, or someone, in my case, gets hurt. We could work that out through Safety Pays, which is an OSHA thing, osha.gov/safety pays, and they'll tell you if you have one ergonomic issue and you're making 10 cents out of the dollar, this is going to cost you X amount of dollars in order to repay for this one incident. So now I could put in variables as saying, all right, I'm teaching you about back safety. This one injury is going to cost you X amount. So that's how much this is worth to you. So now my pricing, even though my hourly rate may be, my current hourly rate is $2.75 an hour. So if I were to say, my hourly rate would be this much, then at that point, they're going to expect those hours, right? So I want to give them a project rate, and the project rate is going to be related to how much it's worth to them, not how much time it's going to take me. So I, again, think of, is it like, for instance, I do a lot of work with people who get OSHA sites, and a lot of times like fall protection. When's the last time you saw a roofer that actually had any kind of fall protection?
Right.
And those guys are fined. One of those fines are roughly right around $15,000 if you've never been fined before. But if you actually have been fined before, then we're truly dealing with something that's close to $25,000 each time and up to $30,000. So if I'm going to do a fall protection class, and the assumption is after the students take this class and they assimilate the information, that's another topic, then I could get a reduction of one less fine, and this fine would have been X amount of dollars to you. I put that right in the quote. So they could see that my value now isn't my value of my time, my value is what I'm saving you. So at that point, your structure should be a little bit different. And what I'm hearing from you sounds like a service contract. It sounds like they're going to need to keep you in for a certain amount each month. So that really sounds like if they could bear a service contract with your time and everything else, you'd probably have to say, all right, this is how much training would be, and give them a visual of what it's going to take to develop this training, and then this is the benefit of this training. So the proposal has to walk them through that process as if you're telling a story. That's the concept of the proposal. I can't tell you how much, but that's the concept of how proposals work real well. So at the end, your proposal should roughly be about 6 to 8 pages.
Okay, 6 to 8 pages.
Yeah, because the last page and a half is your bio about, so you could get over the imposter syndrome for yourself, but then also it's going to help them when they're ready to, whoever your contact person is, they're going to have to take it to a higher up unless it is the director or whoever's in charge, the mayor or whatever. But and I had one utility I used to work with, the mayor had to sign everything. And every time I write a proposal, everything had to go all the way up to the mayor. And it drove me nuts because it took so much time. And working in cities and counties, everything takes you time to get paid anyway. So, but that's, how does that sound to you? Does that land to you in any way?
I mean, it's about as clear as mud because I still don't have a number, but I didn't expect you to give me a number. But you for sure painted a picture of what it can look like on their end, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
The part on, instead of just giving a flat hourly rate, kind of tell the story behind it. Why, what you're going to be doing for those hours, why those hours or what. I mean, the 6 to 8 pages, most of my proposals around, a cover sheet and the price sheet, 3 pages, with maybe like some about me in the middle.
Mm-hmm.
So I could see how this proposal can be 5, 6, 7 pages. Being able to tell the story, get the pricing across, again, put those objections at ease for the people going, what is this? Who is this? What's on my desk?
Yeah, you got to answer those questions for them ahead of time. So when you're doing all those pages, part of it is telling them this is the project, this is why this project is important to the organization. So it's kind of a reminder, the first couple of pages of why this project's important. Then we get into the scope and what I'm going to do in here and details on the scope. And most of my scopes include this is what I'm going to do and this is what you're going to do. So I get their feet on the fire with that in the scope. And then at the very end, you're wrapping it up with something like a SWOT analysis so that they know, this is why, this is our strength, here's our weakness, here's our opportunity, here's our threats. So you give them the good and bad, and that's the information they're going to take to the higher ups. So you're basically giving them a full spectrum so they don't have to ask any questions. You're going to answer it for them in that quote.
So I'm pretty much selling, like doing their hard work of having to sell it to their higher ups by putting all that, like you said, the SWOT analysis, putting in the potential opportunity cost of not doing it, or the the cost of what it would look like if something went wrong and something blew up, and like, oh, you saved X amount of $100,000, but now it's going to cost you millions of dollars.
Correct. And you could do that with a SWOT analysis. You could also do a bow tie analysis with that. So bow tie analysis will be, it actually looks like a bow tie when you write it out, but in the middle is the loss event. And you would say in your cases, if we don't have a VACON, and a VACON now that we have isn't going to help us with X amount of line breaks, but now I could provide service not only with the new VACON, but then training and everything else. So the bow tie analysis will say VACON failure would be in the middle, and then on one side will be here's all the possible things that could go wrong, and then here's the responses for all those things. So you're basically on both sides showing them, here's if we have, a sewer backup. All right, the sewer backup is going to lead to your customers, I guess, not clients. I was about to say clients, your customers calling you, being angry. You're going to have to pay extra for, getting that house cleaned up. But then on this side of the bow tie, you're also going to say, all right, here's our responses to this. And you get them thinking through the responses. And then eventually what it's going to show is you're going to show that your service is going to provide the mechanism to truly not have that loss event at all. So it's a lot of work. However, the work pays off because it shows that you have critical analysis of the situation and that you have the solution ahead of time. So you now are giving them the idea, and you're showing them that you already thought through some of the possibilities. So when it comes to pricing, your price now brings you a little bit higher than what was expected because you showed that you have a higher level of understanding. And with training's even better, because now if you look for retention of training, you're also trying to teach, or at least show that not only do I have a physical ability to, the workers are showing that they're learning, but they're cognitively keeping this information longer. And now at that point that it's assimilated into what they do, you're now going to see lower injuries, lower illnesses, lower whatever. So that's the idea behind those kind of quotes.
Sure. Okay. Well, now I got to put you on the hot seat. You used to work at a plant, correct?
Yes.
How many millions of gallons per day?
Well, we're a medium-sized plant, so right around 8 million. and we're went up to 11. So not one of those
Okay.
regional plants that's like 100 million and all that. You know,
Yeah.
I used to look at those plants like they literally could have guys in the press operation that's never seen anybody else
Yeah.
ever
Yeah.
on the site.
No, I went to one in Los Angeles. It was 260
Yeah,
million.
that one's ridiculous.
Crazy.
Yeah.
And it looked like, and you're right, like it's like it should have its own zip code. Like,
Yeah,
it's
absolutely.
huge.
The one in Miami,
Yeah.
same thing. I'm like, where are you guys going?
Yeah. So let's say you're the director of the plant. What would you pay to capture all the startup and commissioning for the life of the plant?
Yeah, for me, knowing the scope and truly knowing that the startup is going to take a while. So the capturing the startup, I would probably see what's aligned with. Usually, there's two engineering companies. One's the one who's going to get everything working, and then the next one is going to be the one who's going to issue the startup. So
Yep.
if I could get a hold of that contract, that's going to be my start, because now I get to see what they're used to spending. So they're going to be used to spending a certain amount of money for the engineering company to do the startup. So now I know that this is my price range, if you would. So for me, with my old job, I didn't get to see the prices on that. However, actually I did. I got to see it later on. But what I would suggest is, and what I think would be something that I would pay for, it would be more of a monthly payment. Like, truly, I know that there's going to be filming, I know that there's going to be editing, and then I know that there's going to be training on there. So for each topic that we're going to do in the startup, then I'm expecting a unit of this 3 things is going to come with that startup topic. So if I'm going to learn about, we're going to start up our pumps on the headworks, which is the front of the plant for you guys listening, where everything just gets started. You get your areas to take out the heavier, thicker, bigger materials with the bar screens, and then the smaller material with the grit chamber. So those are 2 separate units. So that means we have to have bar screen training and startup, and then you're going to have grit chamber startup and everything too. So that means if I am going to think of somebody providing service for that continuous training, and I'm not going to have to do it again, I'm going to be probably thinking more of a 5 years worth of annual training. What's the price of 5 years of annual training? And that's what I would set my price on. So again, I'm not giving you dollar figures. So
Come on, man.
come on,
The listeners
man.
want to hear it, man.
But I'm thinking, honestly, I don't know. There can't be any less than 10,000 for each module. I can't, because if I'm looking at bar screen orientation with video showing my workers exactly what the bar screen's supposed to do, what to look for, and how to maintain it, and at any time it's at demand training, especially if it's online, I can't see just that one section being less than that.
Yeah. My normal day rate is we're August 2025 right now. My normal day rate is $4,500. So when somebody says, "Hey, we want this training capture, we got a new piece of equipment being delivered," they understand that $4,500 is justified, because again, like an asphalt truck, a vac truck, a street sweeper, it's supposed to have her for 5 to 10 years. So that $4,500 of training for like the service, operations, safety, troubleshooting for that piece of equipment is gonna, like you said, that 5 to 10 years is gonna last that long. And so when you amortize it out, and then also like on a $400,000 truck, $4,500, you get what I'm saying? That's a percentage or a percent of what the total ticket is. That could be easily a upgrade from steel to aluminum, or an extra switch in the cab or something like that. And to have
AC.
that training, and so it's something minuscule, but it goes so far. So and that's kind of like my benchmark is 45, because I know what it costs, or I know what it costs on my end to shoot for a day and then all the time shot, meaning the actual tape that we got, or the the footage that we got, and how long it takes to edit all that. For I say for 1 minute worth of video, it's 4 minutes worth of editing, and that doesn't include like the arrangement and all that. So like let's say at an 8-hour day, we might have 4 hours worth of actual captured content. So that's gonna be just under, or just over half a week worth of editing time, to turn that project in.
Yeah.
And so
I think you should split those rates. So maybe the day rate is the recording rate, but then the delivery and development, and I don't know if you give them all the raw material or do you have an online portal for them to come visit. But if they do the online portal, part of that payment could be the annual upkeep of that portal. So now you could make money there. So every year, as they get access to the portal for their training and everything else, now you now could continue keeping a client.
Yeah. Have something recurring for sure.
See, I didn't give you numbers though. I did.
I
know,
give you
man.
Some. Come on, everybody's waiting for Sheldon to drop the number on me, man.
Yeah, a little bit, but honestly, I think it becomes harder because some utilities, they actually have more money than other utilities, and the way you could tell is truly not only walking the plant but drive around the city. If you see a city and their medians look bad or their streets look terrible, then at that point the city can't afford services like what you got. So you will actually have to tailor down to certain cities, really depending on what you're witnessing as far as the tax base, if you would, cities and counties. So that's a nuance that not everybody's going to have. And those of you listening, I've been telling you guys for years that cities and counties are great for consultants, because usually when you're in. They keep having you back. They keep calling you back.
And so that's why I'm jamming you up about this, is because I want to be able to do more of these. If I can duplicate what I'm doing for this plant with all the other plants that are being built or going to be built in the future, I want to just say, hey, I did this for X, Y, and Z plant. It's 0.5% of the total cost of the plant. So let's say it's 10 million, 20 million, 100 million, 500 million. Just budget for half of a percentage for startup and commissioning training to be captured and doing all that. Like, I want to be able to just take that cookie cutter percentage and say, okay, I'm not trying to be a billionaire, but I want you to know that you're going to pay 0.5% of the total cost of this plant that you guys advertise everywhere. And say, oh, we floated a bond and got $200 million for our treatment plant, on the south side of Greenville, South Carolina. Great. That, that 200 million, 20 million, whatever it is, 0.5% of that will go to startup and commissioning training capturing.
Yeah. And the numbers may work that way. I'm not sure, but the idea is the same, where you should have not only percentage coming in, but then also you want longevity of that too. So the annual updates, the annual upkeep of this information could lead towards CEUs, continuing education units. So you submit your training to CEUs, and not only are you going to make sure that the facility gets trained, but now the operators get continuing education units.
Whew, I got to figure that out. That's another thing. And for all the people who are listening on the business side, this is where the co-founder comes into place. If you're doing it alone, if I could have somebody that could figure out that side, my service would be a lot more utilized and profitable, because a lot of cities do need CEU training. And they ask me, hey, can my guys get a certification or a credit hour for watching the videos? Because I just went to a conference. It's called Tri-State in Las Vegas, and there's people giving talks about not necessarily what their particular plan is about, just giving talks, and they get a credit hour for that. And I'm thinking, wouldn't it make more sense if the person working at X, Y, and Z plant got a credit hour for learning about their own plant? That goes a lot further. And I'd love to be able to figure that out. If somebody could chime in and give me a DM and say, hey, man, here's what you do to get it certified through the state, I will do that.
Yeah, I got you. We could do that. especially since you're in Arizona and I'll be in your area pretty soon. Let's do that.
Yeah. Go easy on the invoice, man.
No, you're going to help me with, I'm going to use this for later content. So that's the trade-off.
As you should, yeah.
So tell us, Joseph, how everyone could get a hold of you and numbers, email, your YouTube channel. Go nuts.
Yeah, so the best way to find like what I'm doing or what I'm up to is on LinkedIn, Joseph Blackman on LinkedIn. Of course, my business website, vitendo.us, V as in Victor, ITENDO.us. That's where you can find more about the business. If you want to get start having conversations around that, whether it's a DM on LinkedIn or sending a message through the website, that works also. My personal email address or my business email address is joe@vitendo, joe@vitendo.us. So shoot me an email. Even if you want to just talk through some of this shop, like again, us entrepreneurs out there, sometimes need a shoulder to lean on or a shoulder to cry on. If you want to chat about some things that you feel like I've gotten good at or you like what I do, let's talk about it. Or if you just want to add value and help me out with certain things that you hear I might be struggling with, reach out. Let's have a conversation. My number is 925-628-7646. I'm always open to text messages about what you guys got going on. If you're going to be at a trade show that you feel like I'm going to be at, like an APWA, a ACE, a WEFTech, let's link up. You guys see the little mini interviews that I do on my timeline on LinkedIn. Let's do something like that together. Even if you're on the sales side and you're trying to sell a product or if you have a service and you want to get more exposure, dude, I'll interview you. I got 20,000 followers. We'll do a little 2-3 minute interview, let you talk about what you do. You could have that forever. Again, that's the power of creating content. It doesn't cost me anything, but it can mean the world to somebody else. So yeah, if you want to link up at a trade show and do a little shindig, we could do that. If you're a listener of Sheldon, you're automatically a friend of me. So don't be a stranger.
Man, you nailed it. Joseph, so cool talking to you again. Thank you so much for being part of the show. And as I tell everybody else in our connection on this podcast, go get them.
Yeah, sure.
That's a wrap for today's safety show. Remember, safety isn't just about hard hats and caution signs. It's about business smarts too. Thanks for joining us on the Safety Consultant Show with Sheldon Primus. Until next time, stay safe, stay savvy, and keep consulting like a boss. Go get 'em. The views and opinions expressed on this podcast or broadcast are those of the host and its guests and do not necessarily reflect the official policy or position of the company. Examples of analysis discussed within the past hour, only examples. It should not be utilized in the real world as the only solution available, as they are based only on very limited and dated open source information. Assumptions made within this analysis are not reflective of the positions of the company. No part of this podcast or broadcast may be reproduced, stored in a retrieval system, or transmitted in any form or by any means, mechanical, electronic recording, or otherwise, without prior written permission of the creator of the podcast or broadcast, Sheldon Primus.
This episode has been powered by Safety FM.
You got into the safety business because you wanted to protect people, but somewhere along the way, the job started controlling your time, your schedule, your priorities, even your income potential. What if the expertise you've built over the years in the field can give you something more? More freedom, more control, more ownership of your future. I'm Sheldon Primus, the author of 7 Steps to Starting a Profitable Safety Consulting Business and the host of the Safety Consultant Podcast, with more than 350 episodes helping safety professionals become consultants and grow their career. Consulting changed my life. In fact, I'm a full-time RVer, and one consulting contract paid for my home I live in today. Now, I help safety professionals build their own consulting practice through bi-weekly coaching calls, accountability, and personal guidance. But this program isn't for everyone. Start with the Consultant Readiness Audit at sheldon.coach.
What if everything we thought we knew about safety was just interference? From the host of the Rated R Safety Show and the founder of Safety FM comes the complete Signal Transmission Trilogy, now available in one powerful edition. Safety, in my opinion, the book that started the conversation. Safety Mutation, where the boundaries of culture, systems, and belief begin to break. And now, Safety Transmission, the final piece of the signal. For the first time, all three books are together in one volume. The Signal Transmission Trilogy, Complete Edition. This isn't just about compliance. It's about consciousness. It's about decoding the way we think, lead, and live, inside and outside the system. Whether you've been following the signal since the beginning or you're just now tuning in, this is the version to own. Search Signal Trilogy on Amazon or visit safetyfm.com to get your copy now.